There could be a team overseas who would love to snatch Caitlyn Clark away from us and give her a crazy offer.
You won't believe what transpired in women's basketball just now. The WNBA MVP, AIA Wilson, is furious about Caitlyn Clark's new European deal.
I want to be great for you guys.
It's a record-breaking offer that has everyone talking, not just any deal. Wilson's purely envious response is what makes it so fascinating. You may be asking yourself, what's the big deal? But Clark isn't just making more money, she's changing the game. Let me tell you, Wilson is not at all pleased about what may be the beginning of a completely new era in women's basketball. Now let's discuss the true game changer. Caitlyn Clark's salary in Europe. We are talking about a deal that is shattering records and left jaws on the floor throughout the basketball world, not just any old contract.
Seems like she's probably going to make more money overseas in EuroLeague than she did during this WNBA season.
You may be wondering how much we're actually talking about here, but be ready because the numbers will astound you. Due to her European deal, Clark will be paid more than Diana Taurasi was when she played for Russia, making her the best-paid women's basketball player in the world, not just in the WNBA.
It's not out of the norm for WNBA players to play during the regular season and then during their off-season play overseas. This is something that has been happening for like the entirety of the WNBA. It even went as far as to 1 year in 2015, Diana Taurasi played in Russia and did not play in the WNBA. And it was never outright stated that she didn't play in the WNBA because Russia basically put that in their contract, that if she went there, she couldn't play. But that was pretty much what everybody thought happened because Russia paid Diana Taurasi at that time $1.5 million salary to play in Russia.
AEL Wilson is furious because this deal isn't just huge and astronomical. We're talking about a contract that makes WNBA salaries seem like chump change. Can you imagine being in her position right now, as the league's MVP and face, and then all of a sudden this rookie shows up and starts earning more money than you've ever seen?
I don't want to be great for you guys. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to try to be the best.
Here's the kicker, though. It's as like Clark is playing an entirely different game while everyone else is still catching up, and she's not just getting more money. This contract is completely changing the market and setting a new benchmark for what top female basketball players can earn.
And with players able to, make money off brand deals and this and that and their celebrity rising, there could be a world where more of these private-owned EuroLeague teams, I could see some of these teams going after some of our star players in the WNBA. And if the money makes sense, if the business aspect makes sense, we could lose more players to playing overseas.
Let's now examine the numbers. The average WNBA pay is roughly $130,000. While the league maximum is about $230,000. However, Clark's European deal may earn her millions of dollars. We're talking about a deal that might be 10 times the WNBA MVP Wilson salary.
The commissioner told her that she could make $700,000 playing in the WNBA through marketing this and that. I don't know what Kathy was talking about because even the highest paid player in the WNBA currently makes a little over $200,000 in salary. And then I don't know what the WNBA does with their marketing dollars, but it's definitely not going to equate to $700,000.
Isn't the gap we're witnessing here unbelievable? Wilson, who is at the top of her career, is witnessing a rookie enter the game and drastically alter the financial landscape of women's basketball. It's no surprise that she feels the heat, but it goes beyond money. Clark's contract is drawing attention to the pay disparities in women's basketball and forcing everyone to consider how we value these athletes and their abilities. For players like Wilson, who have been dominating the WNBA for years, it must feel like a slap in the face. You may be asking, isn't this good for women's basketball overall? And you would be correct in the long run, but for now it's dividing the sport as players like Wilson feel left behind despite their accomplishments, while Clark benefits from her fame and talent.
Crazy offer. I mean, Ice Cube was about to give her $5 million to play in less than 10 games in the Big Three. So the money is there, and if these owners are smart with it, I could definitely see more WNBA players going overseas and possibly not return.
An MVP should be beyond petty envy, right? Think again. A gel. Not only is Wilson's response to Caitlyn Clark's contract unexpected, But it's astounding that a renowned athlete like Wilson would feel so intimidated by a rookie's accomplishment. Let's examine the drama that is developing. AIA. You would think that someone at the top of their game would be comfortable enough to dismiss a newcomer's success, but Wilson's response reveals a completely different picture. Wilson has been the face of the WNBA as the Golden Girl and MVP, but now she's witnessing Caitlyn Clark change the game overnight and she's not taking it well. We're not merely discussing the occasional sarcastic remark. Wilson is in full-blown meltdown mode. She's been tweeting passive-aggressively more frequently than she utters nonsense in interviews and making crude jabs at Clark's accomplishments. This is when things get really intriguing. It's like watching a champion boxer lose it because a beginner is receiving more attention. Wilson isn't just upset about the money. It must hurt to see Clark potentially make millions while she only receives a small portion of that. However, there's more at play here. It's about status, legacy, and who gets to represent women's basketball. You see, Wilson has worked extremely hard to get to this point in her career, carrying the WNBA on her shoulders, and now she's watching this college phenomenon steal the show. Can you imagine what it must be like to be the show's star for years only to have the understudy enter and receive a standing ovation on their first night? Why is AEL Wilson so upset about Caitlyn Clark's new contract? It's not just about the money, it's about what that money means. It's about feeling like all of her hard work and accomplishments are being overshadowed by the new kid on the block. It's about the fear that perhaps she's not the irreplaceable star she believed she was. It's about the old guard feeling threatened by the new. It's about the harsh reality that in sports, as in life, there's always someone younger and hungry coming up behind you.
Caitlyn Clark is starting to push A'ja Wilson for MVP of this league, and I am not exaggerating. She is starting to push A'ja.
However, this is when things go crazy. Not only is Clark stealing the show, but she is also radically changing how women's basketball fans interact with the sport. The reality may surprise you. What could possibly make a rookie so strong that even MVPs are feeling the heat?
Caitlyn Clark, in a shock to me, has proven already to be a once-a-generation passer. I did not see that coming at Iowa. I thought scoring, yeah, she's the all-time greatest scorer in the history of college basketball, men's or women's, but passing like this, I'm talking about gifted LeBron-esque bounce passing. I'm talking about gifted LeBron-esque two-handed, full court, touchdown pass kind of passing, the likes of which I don't see in the WNBA.
Let's examine how Clark's fame is changing women's basketball. You may be asking, is Clark really that significant? Well, the statistics don't lie, and they create a picture that is making the biggest star in the WNBA sweat.
She's having impact on her team that nobody else in the league is having on her team.
We're talking about a huge change in the world of women's basketball. Clark's influence extends beyond the court. It's also seen in the stands, on TV, and in the retail stores. This year, the WNBA saw a whopping 50% increase in attendance. And guess who's leading the charge? Clark's team, the Indiana Fever, saw a 39% increase in fans coming to support them. And we also taught a 50% drop immediately following Clark's elimination.
Let's just say the ratings aren't the same with Caitlyn Clark and the Indiana Fever now eliminated. Game 1 of the Aces Liberty matchup on Sunday drew an average of 929,000.
However, it doesn't end there. The jersey of Clark, it's disappearing from the shelf more quickly than you can say, three-pointer. Not only is she dominating the sales charts, but she's also pushing for better conditions for all players, including charter jets for travel. That's right, she's not just playing the game, she's also changing how the entire league functions. Can you imagine being AIA Wilson right now, the MVP and face of the league, and then this rookie comes along and starts out selling you merchandise? Well, hold on to your seat because Clark's influence goes far beyond ticket sales and jerseys.
I saw for the first time that they had a chartered plane for the first time in their league history. You know, they flew private. That should be celebrated in its own right. From anyone that's, you know, in sports that's flown commercial or flown, you know, charter, that should be celebrated. And it's because of Caitlyn Clark. Don't get it twisted. Don't get it fucked up. Caitlyn Clark is the reason why a lot of great things is going to happen for the WNBA.
However, as Clark gains popularity, others are feeling the heat. Imagine Aeia Wilson observing from the sidelines as this youngster takes center stage. How is Wilson's career being impacted by Clark's fame? The landscape of women's basketball is changing, and not everyone is happy about it. It's not just about sharing the limelight anymore, it's about maybe losing your role as the sport's face. Clark is more than just a player. She is a sensation who is attracting new viewers, upending the current quo, and compelling the league to change for more established players like Wilson. If you were MVP, you were untouchable, and your days may be coming to an end. Not simply Clark's on-court prowess is threatening Wilson's reign at the top. The number that the WNBA is most concerned with is much greater than any MVP award. Not only is Clark's European deal upending individual players, but it's also sending shockwaves through the WNBA as a whole. The league is facing a turning point and is torn between two opposing viewpoints. On the one hand, there is the excitement of Clark's star power drawing in new fans and attention, and on the other, there is the worry that their best players will leave for overseas contracts.
There has been so much discussion about the discrepancy between the WNBA salary and the NBA salary because, as we all know, NBA players make millions and millions of dollars.
You might think that the WNBA would be ecstatic about all of this excitement, but their responses have been, to put it mildly, complex. It's like watching a deer in headlights. They know they should move, but they're still. The league is divided on whether to welcome this new era. Clark is ushering in the past and sticking to the status quo.
For you, when we look at the numbers and when we look at what the WNBA has earned over the past years and the entirety of the WNBA, the numbers actually make sense. It's actually not that unfair what the players are paid. Now, that might all change because of this season, but in the past, the only on-record revenue that I could find of the WNBA is $60 million.
What would happen if more players chose to follow Clark's example? Imagine a WNBA where half of the All-Stars play in Europe for the majority of the year. That would be like the NBA's best player only playing for a few months each summer. The league might become a glorified summer camp for European teams.
Off-season. But with all of the drama currently surrounding the WNBA, on top of the low-paying salaries, some of these players are questioning if they'll even return.
You may be asking, what about Aia Wilson? She's still the MVP. So here's the problem. Wilson's reputation as the face of the WNBA is under jeopardy due to Clark's success. If she continues to attract larger audiences, sell more jerseys, and earn significantly more money, how long until sponsors start pursuing her rather than Wilson?
Caitlyn Clark continues to set the bar when it comes to her impact on female athletics. She's got one of the hottest selling jerseys in sports, y'all, according to Fanatics, led by the one and only Michael Rubin. Clark's Indiana Fever jersey is apparently sold out in all sizes. It was rumored that she actually outsold Dallas Cowboy jerseys.
The WNBA is at a crossroads, and what they do next could completely alter the game. Will they stick to their current model and hope that players like Clark will forgo larger salaries out of loyalty, or will they completely revamp their system to compete with European salaries? Either way, it's a gamble, and the stakes are extremely high.
There was a huge boom this season. There was a huge boom in merchandise and television viewership and sold out arenas and all of these things, which I feel like the WNBA could have capitalized on it even more. And if there wasn't so much drama in the league, with that, more money should come and these players should be able.
Wow, isn't what we just seen unbelievable? The WNBA will need to act quickly because they can no longer ignore what is occurring. Caitlyn Clark is not only altering the game, she is rewriting the rules for women's basketball. This is about upending the entire system, not simply one player becoming famous.
Caitlyn Clark actually was advocating for actually not even her own teammates, but for other teams' players because of all of the eyeballs that the Indiana Fever were bringing in.
This could be the beginning of a whole new era in women's basketball where the best players have more power than ever before. What do you think? Are we going to see more players following in Clark's footsteps? The game is changing right before our eyes, and I'm excited to see what happens next. And for players like Aia Wilson, it's adapt or get left in the dust. The days of being untouchable just because you're MVP may be over.